off by sharing with you all what are going to be some 4 really great steps for creating your graduate school outline. Many of the people in this presentation could be from at different stages in your academic career. Some of you might be sophomores trying to get a head start on thinking about graduate school. Some of you might be graduating pretty soon. So wherever you might be, hopefully these tips are really helpful to each of you. So you want to start off by determining if and why you want to pursue an advanced degree. So whether or not you should, and then why you want to pursue one. That's going to be really important to really have a strong understanding of why you want to pursue this, this post-secondary degree. Next, you want to identify what are those different things that you value in your potential graduate program. We're going to discuss a number of factors that you may take into account as you think about, well, what is something that I value? And it is going to be very different for each of you. So it's difficult for me to tell you this is the exact thing that you should be looking for because it's going to be very specific to your needs. Third, you want to explore what are the factors that will make you a competitive candidate. Again, depending on what programs you're applying to, what institutions, you know, how competitive the field and the industry might be, it can all lend to different factors. So you want to, I'm going to share with you what are some of those factors that you can start thinking about right now, or maybe you already have been, that will make you stand out as a potential graduate school candidate. And then lastly, we're going to discuss a graduate school material timeline. So what I mean by material timeline are all of those different requirements for applying to graduate school. And notice that it says at the end for yourself, because it is very different, and it is based so much on how you plan and prepare for different things. So I mentioned earlier, if you could share in the chat, why do you want to pursue a graduate degree? So I'm going to read just really briefly what some of you mentioned. So someone wrote, it's necessary for the career that I want to get into, which is counseling. Thank you. Ray wrote salary consideration. So, you know, looking to earn more. Monica wrote, I need it for my career, which is becoming a lawyer. Someone wrote, Patni, I'm actually not sure what I want to pursue or even why. Great, so I'm glad that you're here. Hopefully this is really helpful for you today. It says here, everyone says that a bachelor's degree is the new high school diploma. So I guess maybe I need it for my career, my salary, and maybe for necessity. Really great, thank you for sharing that. Jenna wrote, I need it for my career, compensation analyst. Very nice. Bren, not only is it required for my career path, but also for salary to have the specialized knowledge. Lydia, I need it for my career, neuropsychologist. Zamira, I want to, because I want to, and career-wise, museum curator. Very nice. Karen, career in athletic training. Joriel, I think. I don't know if I should. Very honest, and I love it. Welcome. Hopefully you'll get lots of opportunities today to really explore if it is going to be right for you. And then Miguel Enrique, I want to become a professor. Excellent. So for many of you, what I'm noticing is that the reasons to pursue a graduate program are a lot of the things that are listed here. So maybe it is, or actually some of the reasons why someone might want to pursue a graduate program is because they want to become an expert or a specialist in their particular field. So a lot of you all mentioned some of these. So you can see right here, you know, it might be required to become a lawyer, a museum curator, a counselor. It's one of those minimum requirements. Maybe some of you choose to pursue a grad program because you want to conduct research, or you want to increase your salary, like a few of you mentioned. I noticed that a few of you said, because I want to advance into a leadership position or into the next stage of my career. Some people choose an advanced degree because they are ready to change career paths. Or it could be a number of other reasons. Some people may even want to pursue a graduate degree for that accomplishment, for that inner motivation, right? So, just these are just a few of the reasons why a graduate degree could be relevant to you. I bring these up because many times there is a misconception that a graduate program would be a great place or a great way or method for me to, earn a degree while I'm figuring it out, right? While I'm figuring out, well, I don't know what I want to do in my career. So maybe this could be a good way for me to extend the timeline. But I really want to challenge that because when you really think about graduate programs, they are so specialized and so niche into a specific career that it can pose different challenges later on if you utilize a grad degree as that waiting game or expanding or extending your timeline. So these would be excellent reasons for you, especially those of you who said in here, well, I'm not even sure if I do want to go into graduate school or if it's right for me. These are going to be some of the reasons why it would be worth looking into a graduate degree. All right, so moving right along, what are going to be some important factors that I should keep in mind when I am deciding on a specific degree? So let's say I've identified one of these already, and I feel like, okay, I know that I need this graduate degree for one of these reasons or otherwise. So now that I've made the decision to pursue a graduate degree, what should I look for? I get this question pretty commonly during my counseling appointments for graduate school, and I noticed that a lot of students are somewhat unsure of what makes a good graduate degree or what makes a good decision. It's entirely up to you. And so I'm going to share just a few factors that you can think about, and you may notice that some of these resonate with you more than others. So that's what I really want you to notice. And at the end, I'm going to ask you all to maybe share in the chat box what were your top three factors when you, as I'm going through each one, what are the top three factors that may resonate for you? So for some students, deciding on a graduate program can be dependent on the geographical location. It can look something like this. It can be, well, I love the job that I'm working at right now here in the city of Houston. So any graduate degree that I pursue, I would love it to be in the city of Houston. And there are lots of really great universities in Houston. So again, it really expands your options because you have multiple options in the city. Or it could also look like this. I am ready to move out of state and I want to explore a new city or a new state, one that I've always had my sights set on. Maybe I've always wanted to work in California, Chicago, or etc. So geographical location could be really a really important factor for you. The next one could be the institution's reputation. Similar to that network that you build when you say like, oh, I'm earning my bachelor's degree at the University of Houston. There is a certain level of reputation, whether it's through the accreditation process, or maybe it's because it's a top ranking institution and you know that for any law program, you know that this is going to be the target school. So institution's reputation could be one of your top factors for you. Another one could be the class size, format, and faculty support. These could be, you could argue that these could be three separate ones, but I went ahead and I lumped them together because in essence, it is what the format is like. So maybe you could be really motivated by having small class sizes because you want that one-on-one support with your faculty members who are a part of your program, or maybe you like the small class sizes so that you can have, you know, a cohort of people who you can depend on for support, ask for assistance throughout the program, and you can depend on one another. And by format, I'm referring to, you know, a part-time or full-time program, a virtual or an in-person program, or maybe a hybrid. So again, these reasons could be very important to you all based on what other factors you have in your life. So for some of you, it could be, well, I've decided that with my graduate program, I would like to continue working full-time somewhere after I've graduated, so I could earn money and maybe do a part-time graduate program, so that way I can do both at the same time. So that's something that I'm looking for. Or maybe for others, it could be the exact opposite. Maybe it's, I want to pursue a program full-time and not work. And so maybe that's going to be really important for you. So again, it's very different for each of us because we all have so many different factors happening in our lives. Friends, family, and community support. And I bring this up because it's happened on more than one occasion that students tell me that, that they might be targeting one or two specific schools because they have friends who live near that city, or they have family who again, that they can stay with while they're in school. Or maybe it's that I have this community support already built here, so maybe that's why I choose this university or this program. So again, this could be a really important factor. Many of you could look at it differently. You could look at it as, well, maybe I have a family that I need to think about. So if I have a family, maybe I don't want to uproot everybody and move everyone just so that I can pursue a program. Maybe I want to find something where I'm already situated. So again, very different for each of you. Another really important factor could be tuition costs. It's possible that the cost of tuition for the specific program can vary school to school. So I implore that you all do your research on the cost, so that way, if this is one of your top factors, you know at least what you're going to be entering into regarding the cost. Now, I've also included financial aid, because it could be that maybe the tuition cost is one thing, but the program offers really outstanding financial aid support. Maybe there are graduate assistant programs to allow some tuition assistance, some stipends, some different opportunities to work and earn financial support at the same time. Or maybe again, you know, in-state tuition could be a factor for you, where I'm looking for in-state tuition, or maybe I'm comfortable with out-of-state because I'm looking for a program that might fully fund me, or a program that offers this level of financial support. And I will add to that point that many times, as you are doing research into the different programs, you will see on the program's website, you know, financial aid opportunities at this university or in this department. So I urge that each of you take some time to look at this if this is one of your top reasons or top factors. I mentioned it earlier, but one of your top factors could be the opportunity to work and study simultaneously. Some professions, occupations may really encourage their employees to work and study at the same time, because again, it's maybe an investment from the company to encourage you to study simultaneously. So that could be something that you might be looking for. Or in your decision, you might think, well, I'm ready to, you know, advance my profession or my career. Maybe I'm ready to start a new career, whatever that looks like for you. This could be one of your factors as well. By no means is this the last one. It's just one of the top factors, but it could be that you are looking for specific resources that are available to you. For many of you, it could be lab resources, library resources, maybe it's faculty resources, whatever that looks like for you. I'm using the term resources pretty broadly, but this could be very different based on your specialization, especially as I was reading in the chat, many of you do have different specialization areas. So these are just a few, they're not exhaustive, but these are just a few of the top factors that students can look for or can utilize to help them determine what's going to be the right graduate program for me that meets my needs. So I invited each of you at the end of this to share, if you can, or if you're interested, share what are your top three. It can be more than three, it can be less than three, but what are your top factors as each of you are deciding on a graduate program? And go ahead and put it into the chat. I'm very curious to see what everyone says. I'll give it a few minutes while I drink water. All right, Bren says, my top factors are institution reputation, cost, and location. Jenna says reputation, cost, and resources available. Awesome, keep them coming. I see a lot of location, right? It does tend to be one of the top factors. And if maybe I didn't mention one and that you've been wondering or thinking about, go ahead and add it. Very nice. Really like seeing the variety, right? Even though geographic location it seems to be, you know, popular, so does cost, tuition cost. So does reputation, seems to be very popular. And again, these are the top ones, but it's by no means the only factors, because as you start processing and thinking and evaluating the different programs, you'll see that you will start to really think about, oh, you know what, this might be a great program because X, Y, and Z. Maybe you saw that in the news that the program offers excellent internship connections or opportunities. That could be another factor for you, that you are looking for a program that does include an internship. Very nice. Oh, Miguel Enrique wrote fulfillment, right? That self-fulfillment with choosing a graduate program. Very nice. Okay. So I want to briefly talk about, thank you. Keep them coming. If you didn't get a chance to hit enter yet. Very often I hear from students who ask me, well, you know, should I apply now? Should I apply right away? Or is it better for me to wait a few years, maybe 1 year or a couple before entering a graduate program? And, you know, there's no possible, or there's no one right answer, and it wouldn't be the best for me, a career counselor, to tell you what to do. It's entirely up to you. So as many of you might start thinking about, well, is a gap year right for me? Should I take one? Should I take multiple? It's important to really think about what are the cost benefits that I should really evaluate for myself, right, before making that decision. So I want to talk about both, and I'm going to start off with what are some of the costs. So what are some of the reasons that it could be difficult for me to take a gap year before I talk about what are the benefits of taking a gap year. So if I take a gap year, you know, new responsibilities may start to happen, right? Because right after I graduate from my undergraduate degree, life begins to happen. I might start getting, I might get a new job. I might start a family. I may already have a family. I may start to have all of these different financial obligations. And suddenly all of those new responsibilities begin to take priority. And this can be a hindrance because it can slow down that progress you were making or that desire of entering that graduate program, because suddenly all of these things have become top of mind. It could also happen that you notice a decrease in your motivation, right? Your motivation to really pursue and feel excited about a graduate program. As you leave your undergraduate connections, your network, such as your faculty, or any supervisors that or mentors that you built a relationship with, those ties may start to weaken, and you may lose track or you may lose touch with the people who were possible references for you for those recommendation letters. And then the last bullet, really important because it happened to me. Some of your academic, your writing, and your test taking skills, they might fall out of practice. Some of you who choose to take a gap year or years may get right into the swing of getting that first or second full-time job. And as time goes on, you just lose that practice, and you may become rusty on certain skills that you have right now while they're fresh. So just important for you to keep in mind. I know for me, as I took 6 years of a gap year before pursuing my master's degree, and it was rough for me because I had fallen so out of practice from my writing to then suddenly go into a writing intensive, research intensive program that it took a lot of extra motivation and a lot of extra work on my behalf. And so that was something that I had to keep in mind. So what are some of the benefits? The benefits of taking a gap year. It does give you a chance to earn some money, right? To start saving up, to work full time, earn a really great salary post-graduation. This can go for tuition. This can go for just life expenses in general. It gives you an opportunity to gain valuable and transferable experience, which is going to be really helpful and will increase your chances for admission, because oftentimes programs want to see what type of experiences you'll be able to bring to this program. Taking a gap year or years can also help you build and refine your skills. It'll also give you some knowledge about what my goals might be later down the road, because at this point you're now working for, let's say, a year or 2 years, that you've now had some time to really think about, well, what do I want to study one day? For those of you in the chat earlier who said, well, I'm not even sure if graduate school is right for me, this is an excellent reason to take a gap year so that you can utilize that time to find a job that you've been really wondering about, and help you decide, oh, I like this. Maybe I do want to pursue that graduate degree in this industry to help me continue this career. Gap years can honestly help you take some time to relax, refocus some energy, because you've just completed a 4-year bachelor's degree. Some of you in here who might be in that bachelor's degree right now. So taking a year or two to work and fully dedicate yourself to working, that can be a time for you to refocus your energy. And then last bullet point, it gives you an opportunity to mature a lot more, which can be a really great benefit as you enter a graduate degree, because it requires a whole different level of maturity and responsibility and time management skill, more than anything. If you have any questions about taking a gap year that maybe I didn't cover, please add it in the chat. I want to invite each of you to feel free to ask questions as I move along. All right, so one of the common questions that I get as I meet with students, as my colleagues meet with students, is, Well, how do I make myself stand out? What are graduate schools looking for? How do I make myself competitive? And so I want to share with each of you what are the general things that that graduate schools are looking for in their candidates. First and foremost, they are looking for your academic accomplishments and your performance. This can be evaluated by your GPA. Maybe they're looking at your prerequisites that may be in a specialization, especially if you're entering the medical field or possibly the legal field. They might be looking at your writing or maybe how you did in your science classes, etc. So they're looking for that academic performance. Graduate schools are also looking for what are those relevant experiences that you had that will prepare you for a graduate program. This can come in the form of extracurricular activities, volunteer and work experiences. So if you held a leadership position, maybe you were an active member of your organization. Maybe you held a part-time job while you were in your bachelor's degree. All of those experiences, or an internship as well, all of those experiences, if you're able to show that on a resume, or maybe you're able to pinpoint how that prepared you in your personal statement, this is really what's going to help you stand out, especially if it is relevant to the field that you are entering. Third bullet point, I consider to be very important. I've spoken with a few people, different representatives, who say that graduate programs want to see, commonly in a personal statement, but they want to see that the student who is writing or who is applying to the program has expressed their motivation and has a clear set of goals for why they are pursuing this graduate degree. That's why it was my first question, because I really want to encourage each of you to really understand why you are choosing this graduate degree. So for many of you, it is part of your desire to accomplish this area of expertise or this specific career. But if you, let's say, have a passion for law, or maybe you have a passion for helping others. Let's say you have a passion for, I think someone mentioned data analytics earlier. Whatever your passions or your skills are, if that shows up clearly in your personal statement and through your experiences, that's really going to convince and increase your chances for entering this graduate program. Graduate admission scores. So graduate school programs usually have that as one of their requirements. They may ask for a GRE, a GMAT score, an LSAT score, whatever is relevant for your program. And so they might be using this number as an indicator of how prepared you are for this program. Now, some schools may have listed on there, we want a minimum of this score, or maybe they say last year's graduate school class that was admitted had a median score of this number. Now, whatever that number is, it can influence how you prepare for that graduate school or graduate admission test. Now, some schools may use that number or they may just simply ask for your scores just so that you can share with them the scores, but they might not entirely depend their decision just on that score. So I always like to make sure to remind students of that unless it explicitly says a minimum score, to just make sure that you are creating a very strong, well-rounded application. And finally, and maybe not finally, but a final bullet point, some graduate programs may be looking for any type of research or writing experience where applicable. So they may ask for something such as, we want to see a writing sample, or we want to see a writing sample with this specific thing. And that is how they are able to see your writing level, your research interests, etc. So again, these are just some of the top things that graduate schools are looking for in a student. This is the following question that I sometimes get right after the what can I do to make myself a strong candidate? Many times students ask me, well, what if I don't meet one of those qualifications? Very commonly, it's like a GPA or it's a GRE score, an LSAT score, or whatever it is. I like to tell students keep in mind that there are lots of different factors that admissions committees have to decide on when they're looking at who gets accepted for that year. So if you ever find yourself in that position where you're asking yourself, well, you know, what can I do to make myself a stronger candidate if I didn't make, you know, the best grades, or maybe my GPA did go lower this one year because XYZ happened. Whatever that is, I like to remind students that there are lots of ways that you can show that you are the right person for the program. So these are just a handful of examples. If you carry with you a passion for your industry of choice, or whatever your career choices are, you want to demonstrate that passion in your personal statement or in your application. You want to make sure that your goals are very clear. And that does not necessarily mean that you have to know exactly today the exact thing that you're going to do, because things can change. Your mind can change. You may be exposed to something that you didn't know before while you're in a program. But as long as you have a clear sense of direction, that is always, and it stands out in your personal statement, that is always going to help you increase your chances. Do you have any unique skills, or do you have a unique major that maybe helped you throughout the process in deciding that I want to pursue this because I have this skill, whatever that is? Have you overcome a challenge? And if you did, how did that prepare you for a graduate program? Or how did that inspire you or motivate you? And lastly, do you want to give back to your community? I've heard from the mouths of different admissions committees who say, we want to see somebody who, when they graduate, they want to give something back, or that they want to accomplish their goal, but also do something in addition to having that graduate degree. So what can I do to prepare myself leading up to the time that I'm due for applying? So leading up to that deadline. So again, I mentioned earlier, each of you who are here for this presentation, you all might be at different places and different stages. So this is not necessarily time bound, but it's more of what are those items that I should be completing as I'm applying to this graduate program. So starting off with deciding what I mentioned earlier, deciding if I should go to graduate school and why. This is the area that I argue you should spend the most time thinking about, and that includes researching programs. Once you have decided that graduate school is going to help you accomplish your goals, researching those programs online, looking at those different factors, those different websites, this is where you will spend a good portion of your time doing your due diligence. Right around that time that you start researching programs, you'll notice that there might be a deadline. Whatever that deadline is, that will help you determine the next step, which is, when should I start registering or preparing for my entrance exams. So if you happen to be in here today and you are hoping to apply for this upcoming cycle, then right around right now, that's a mouthful, you might be thinking about, okay, have I registered? Maybe yes. Have I been studying for my GRE or my LSAT? Yes. And then when do I want to take it to give me enough time to apply, to apply by the deadline? You want to also begin updating your resume or CV, depends on which one your program asks for, and start writing your 2-page personal statement. Now, I do say on here 2-page personal statement, but I will tell you that as you research programs, some of them might say something very different. They might explicitly say, we want a 1-page single-space personal statement. Follow their directions. But if it doesn't have a prompt or it doesn't say anything specific, then you want to stick with a 2-page personal statement, double-spaced. So this is pretty much part 1 of your graduate school timeline, or like that checklist, right? And I will mention a few resources closer to the end that we have available to students. And then part 2 is going to be, after you've written that personal statement or your resume/CV, you want to schedule to have it revised by someone. You have some excellent resources with University Career Services, just to give us a plug, because we are really here to help each of you. You want to schedule that one-on-one time with someone who can give you one-on-one feedback. And this is not something that I would recommend in virtual chats, which are just really quick, 15 minutes. I would recommend that you do this revision in a 30-minute appointment, possibly even more than one appointment. So be sure to include this in your checklist. Right around this time, you want to reach out to at least 2 or 3 people who can write you recommendation letters. This is usually one of the requirements for applying to graduate school. So make sure that you do, devote some time to building those relationships with people who could write you strong recommendation letters. Typically, it's someone who either has worked with you as a supervisor, as a mentor, or maybe a faculty member who has evidence of your writing ability or your research interests. After you've reached out and you've made a formal request, you want to send them a thank you after they have completed that for you. And then apply before your deadline. So this is a very rudimentary timeline. There's lots of maybe little things that you might do in between. But I just wanted to hit those main points of what you should be completing before your application is due. And I have on here deadlines or apply before your deadline. Some of you may have a question of like, well, should I apply priority or should I apply regular admission? Again, this is going to be very, very much up to the individual, but I can always answer any specific questions you may have about that. And I'm gonna, perfect timing. I always like to leave at least 10 or 15 minutes towards the end to answer any of your specific questions you may have. So I want to remind you all that Career Services is here to help. All of those things that I mentioned today, we are here to help you through that process. On our main website, and I'm not sure if someone is able, on our team is able to share this link, we have created a University Career Services graduate school checklist, which is very similar to what I just described, only has much more detail in it. And I recommend that you utilize this tool to help you decide, okay, what's next? How do I pace myself, or how do I make sure that I have enough time to work on certain things? Thank you, Dr. Bidding, for sharing that link. And so utilize that graduate school checklist to help you through that process. And remember that you should include some time to meet with a career counselor, such as myself or anyone who is connected to your college, because we have a liaison, a counselor for every college, to have them review your resume or CV, to have them help you with a personal statement, especially if you don't know where to start, or if you've written one and you want to review on it. And then some of you, depending on what program or professional program you're applying to, you may have an interview as a requirement. So remember that you can also schedule a mock interview and ask for us to make it very specific to your program. If you're entering a health professional program, pharmacy school, medical school, you may want to schedule that interview to practice and get some feedback. And then of course, attend any upcoming or future workshops, or watch the recordings that we have or will be sharing on YouTube related to graduate school preparation.